Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Jenelle Kim, and this is The Experts. Today, I have such a special episode because I am with the beautiful, both inside and out, Emma Post, who is not only an incredible woman, and you are going to find everything out about why I am saying that, but also a friend. And just amazing. She is a warrior. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who she is by reading this little bio that is just very difficult actually to put into a couple of sentences because you have so much that you have done, which I can't wait. But for those of you who do not know Emma Post, as the former press secretary for Maha turned wellness entrepreneur, Emma is on a mission to help women embrace natural, holistic practices that allow them to feel stronger and more attractive as they age. Her approach blends strength training, clean supplementation, and non-toxic living into a simple, sustainable lifestyle. That's key, proving that women do not need prescriptions, injections, or extreme regimens to thrive. So clearly, I resonate with all of this, which is why we connected to begin with. So I am excited. Where do we begin, Emma? I'll tell you where I like to begin.
Yeah, please. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me.
I'm grateful for you being here.
Yeah, I'm really grateful.
How does it all begin? Meaning, I really love to understand, what were you like as a little girl? Did you think that you would be the former press secretary of Maha when you were little? Is that what you were aiming for? And what got you there?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Which I think we've talked about in our conversations about how life presents a path for you. I have always, for about the past 15, 20 years, been personally very into health and wellness. Worked on Capitol Hill as a press secretary, worked in communications and public affairs, looking at how we can use communications to advance a public policy or a priority or some kind of national, state laws.
Right.
And, I found myself at a fundraiser for Bobby Kennedy, now Secretary Kennedy, maybe a year and a half ago down in Austin, Texas. Totally unexpected. I had friends actually here from LA who were participating, as artists. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. There's an independent candidate running. I'm not a super political person myself. I just was interested in there being a new option. And when I heard his message and really mission around the greater chronic disease epidemic, which I think now most people are familiar with, it just really resonated with me on such a deep level that I connected with our chief of staff at the time. We just hit it off. And then I joined the campaign soon after. And again, I joined when he was running as an independent.
Yes.
We all know what happened subsequently. It's wild to think about back then, or even when he was running, and sort of this transition after he endorsed now President Trump, because Maha wasn't a thing.
Yes, I know.
mean?
It's a funny thing to even imagine because clearly everyone
he said it when he announced, when he endorsed President Trump, about a year ago now in August. He said, let's make America healthy again. And at that point, the campaign ended and transitioned, and some of us went on to work for Maha Alliance, which was a super PAC, and then Maha Action, which is a nonprofit to
so for those of us who don't know, what is a super PAC?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A super PAC is just it's a political action committee.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not joking. I'm not always versed in these
Trust
things.
me, I hardly knew what it was when I did it, and so it was really to support and bring Kennedy voters over to Trump at that point in the game. And so, I remember, for example, as press secretary then, talking to outlets like the New York Times and talking to them about this idea of, health freedom, which is so core to the movement, really this idea that we should be empowered with the information that we need to be able to make the right choices around our health.
I mean, yes. And when you say it that way, which is what I resonate with, I mean, who would disagree on that?
100%, 100%.
At all. And not that that's even the conversation, but my point being is, as I don't always cross over, but Dr. Joel Gator, we're all kind of, he also worked, and you both know each other. Yeah. But that was the whole point of our conversation as well.
Exactly.
So I love that, focusing on that. That's
exactly. Well, and it was so interesting because, we were, again, like talking to the New York Times, I remember the first time they wrote a story on this movement and Make America Healthy Again, and the idea of health freedom, which actually was quite new. I remember, so I recently met with that reporter in Washington, and she said to me, Emma, like, I had to get the idea of health freedom approved by the editors because they hadn't covered it. This idea, which is insane because it shouldn't be like a foreign concept, but it was from a mainstream media perspective. So, just point being that if you had asked me even back then, would we have gotten to this point? Would I have had any idea that like this is where, we would end up? Like, absolutely not. It was really such a journey of letting go and truly just surrendering along the path, as we transitioned, especially from the campaign to a PAC to a nonprofit.
May I ask you?
Yeah.
And we are friends, so I'm like,
Sure.
But I'm curious what you mean by letting go. What did you have to?
Oh, I had to let go of my own challenges and, thought process around backing President Trump. Okay. For sure.
That's
for
why
sure.
I'm asking you. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Like I said, I joined the campaign as an independent.
Yes. I understand that. And you have your heart into that. When you met RFK Jr., he touched you like in a way, his genuineness, or I'm speaking for you, but I see it in him. I don't know much about politics.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm, and again, like I'm not a super political person. That was the whole idea of why I joined on, was because there was an independent option,
Okay,
so
I'm glad
I had so I
acknowledging
had to have,
this.
Yeah, I had to have my own like come to Jesus,
Yes.
and I think that's the really beautiful thing about this movement and this process is that I have seen many people set aside their political preferences, whether they were hardcore Democrats their entire life. So many people who are part of this movement put that stuff aside, and they just said, okay, like, we're going to put it away for this bigger mission to get this done, to, support this administration and try and end this insane chronic disease epidemic that we're in. And so I think it's a really interesting moment, where like culture and politics are colliding, and you're really seeing people come together in a way that is really unprecedented.
I love that. We've spent time together off the record, right? Or whatever, behind the scenes, whatever you call it. And I'm sure, I know we have discussed that, but you saying it in that way just meant like literally was my wish for our time together today. There's other things, of course, that we're going to touch, but that was really important to me. And it was just, so I have to acknowledge, I love hearing that. Because I don't know if I, like I said, really got that before. That and let it be known, because the reality is when we say, right, oh, and Emma's with Maha, like I can't imagine all these, thoughts or stigmas or perspectives, paradigms will come rushing into basically everyone in some way, shape, or form. And how often does that happen, actually? Like
100%.
that much. I can like feel it. And here you are sharing that, what you just shared. That is actually something where people are, in fact, and let it be known. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it's a very organic process, right? Like, I don't know that anyone, first of all, no one could have predicted what went down.
Yes.
I don't know that anyone wakes up, day one and is like, it's just, and I think that's really beautiful. It's like, it's imperfect. Our politics are imperfect, obviously. God knows there are a lot of confines and challenges that the system is just set up with inherently. But what I have seen with this movement is that there's such a like vibrant cross-section of people in culture and wellness and celebrity and influencers who are coming together to support this. And like, that's really interesting.
And they really care. Also, what I'm feeling right now
Yeah.
as you're talking, and I like see it in you for anyone who's watching, but if you're not watching, it's like, let's take a moment to, because I am certain this is not an easy process, or it was not like any of it.
Yeah.
So these people have to come in and care. And I'm sure it's a lot of hard work. You know, it's not something you just do, you know,
totally.
as a hobby, I'm gathering.
100%.
You know?
And listen, I was just so early in on it. Like there are people who have been championing, you know, stuff like the removal of dyes in our food, like Fani Hari. I mean, people have been committing their entire lives and careers to this work.
Yes.
And it's so deep. And I think that, you know, sometimes we forget that these people are all just humans, you know, and to have compassion, for all sides of the aisle. I think these people really truly are trying to do their best to
make
this movement. Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Yes, and in a way that is actually really making a difference right now.
Yeah, and I think you can look at there are plenty of haters, and there are people who sit on the sidelines, and you can nitpick and you can tear this movement down all day long. Or the way I look at it is like, you can get in the game and you can try to affect change, you know, whatever small part you can have or do. But the reality is there is a spotlight on the nation's health right now.
Yes.
So you can get in the game or not. And I think this is a group and a moment where people are choosing to do so, again, regardless of politics.
Yes, I love that. And that's anything in life. But listen, what is more important at the end of the day than our health? Because guess what? If we don't have our health, our life, then we don't even exist. Like it's literally, I was raised, you know, we have, in this life, you have one body. That's it. You know, you're not going to get another one. I don't have a spare one over there. Like, we have to pay attention. And particularly, there's a lot of like, you know, people communities that we are part of together that are very focused on children too, which literally it's our children and it's our next generation. It's the human race. It's like, I tend to be a little intense and extreme, but hello.
No,
it's kind
100%.
of intense and extreme.
Well, and I think that's what you realize too, is like, we're so lucky. We're sitting here in LA.
Yes.
You live in San Diego. Like California in general is so health conscious. We have beautiful weather. There's a lot of walking. There's easy access to clean food, you know, exercise. That really isn't the case in most of the country. And all it takes is like stepping outside, you know, if you're at an airport traveling, or when I go to DC or whatever, and it's palpable. Like it's so obvious how, you know, what a problem this is. So, and what a priority it needs to be. So,
yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jenelle Kim, 9th generation doctor of Eastern medicine, founder and formulator, manufacturer of JBK Wellness Labs, martial artist, and practitioner of the Tao. I am so grateful for the opportunity to have this podcast, The Experts. The intention behind this is to, my favorite thing as a Taoist, as the Taoist beauty and longevity expert that is, my favorite thing is to take away the complication. Why make life harder than it has to be? And so what I wish to share in this life are practical and effective tools that have been passed down in my lineage, but really in ancient medicine for thousands of years. So the point behind this podcast is to bring you the experts. So you truly have a place to come for all things on the 3 pillars: medicine, movement, and mindset. And so in appreciation for all of you tuning in, I would love to offer you a promo code, DJK, Dr. Jenelle Kim, DJK15 for 15% off my new collection of products, core collection of some of my favorite products. You know that I manufacture for brands carried in Credo, Sephora, Ritz-Carlton's, Nordstrom, you name it, for over 20 years. And these are some of my favorite products. It's a beautiful face serum, face oil, and a muscle and joint product that was launched at the NBA All-Star Game. I'm grateful. And these products have been handed down in my lineage, these formulas, for 9 generations. I combine them with the best longevity ingredients that exist, and I cannot wait for you to try them. And also, you are able to use that code for any of my moving, meditation, or Qigong courses. And we have so many things to talk about, so we have to keep moving. I mean, it's all rooted in the same.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, I am certainly, and I know Craig agrees with me because he told you himself, which I've not really heard him say that before, but so grateful for everything and all that you have done and are doing, because I am certain it is not an easy path. Actually, before we talk about the rest of the things, let's dive into one thing that I don't usually ask these questions, but I'm sure I can't imagine working in a group in all the places that you've been like you have, in rooms of, a lot of masculine energy. Listen, that can be women and men alike. I tend to have masculine energy. We talked about this at dinner. But what was that like for you? Because I know you're a strong woman. People ask me this sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know, it's fine. And then I really think, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that was a little imbalanced, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
You see all types of people. I want to know.
So listen, our U.S. political system is very male dominated, obviously. There is a lot of that energy. There are a lot of huge personalities that you're contending with on a national stage. So I would say,
isn't that like the huge? That's like the word.
Are you kidding? The pressure's insane.
I hope everyone enjoyed that joke.
yeah. Like the pressure's insane. And to be honest, like it was a struggle for me, because I think just naturally when you're in spaces like that, it is easy to lose a sense of like yourself, your femininity. Like you can just get into the go, put it all aside for this mission and not take care of yourself. And I saw that happen with a lot of people who, I worked with this past year and a half or whatever. But I think that it helped to root me in my mission for the next chapter, because throughout this whole process, I was still very diligent personally about like my mindfulness, my health, my exercise, and continuing to strength train, because like I just felt like if I didn't do that, like I needed to claim myself, and maintain that sense of self throughout the process. And, God knows, it's like you can do a job, but you want to do a job and like look good and like maintain your energy
absolutely.
And like be kind. And like, that's the difference, in a person that's healthy or not, is like, what's the energy you're bringing to your day to day? Are you, vibrant? Are you inspired? Are you in yourself, rooted in yourself? Or are you just being sort of,
drained?
Yeah, drained.
That's the word that just keeps coming.
Yeah,
because energy is energy. It doesn't matter how strong we are. If we do not do, which was a beautiful transition into what I want you to share with everyone, if we do not make a conscious effort and choice and then follow through with practices and consistency of doing these things, these practices, these tools, ways of taking care of ourselves, it is still energy, and it absolutely can be drained, especially around that kind of stimulus and energy around you.
But the idea is like beauty for your body, right? I think I turned 40 2 years ago.
Yes.
And
you're such a baby. I'm 43.
Oh, stop.
And people say that to me. You're such a baby. I was like, you're just 6 months older, but okay, cool. I'll take it.
And listen, like
you are.
When we turn, thank you. So are you. When we turn 40, it's like all of a sudden everyone's like, everyone tells you you're like only going to get less healthy.
Okay.
Not like you have to like, there's such this idea that like we have to like hang on to our youth, and like once we hit 40, like we're not going to be in like the best chapter of our lives, You're
correct. It's so funny because in full transparency, I suppose I hear that. They're like the warrior in me and everything is like, what? I can't even hear you. But you're right.
Yeah.
And to some of it is part of the cycle of life, right? That's why I couldn't stand forever. And sometimes I say the word like anti-aging. There's no such thing.
100%.
Hence longevity. I've been talking about longevity for decades, lifetimes. I'm glad we're all catching up.
100%. So like
it's going to happen.
Yeah. And of course there's this like whole, listen, I'm so happy we're in this I think, really transformational time for women's health in general, where people are recognizing the importance of hormonal health and building muscle for these reasons. But the narrative is like whacked. It's like, start doing it when you're 40 so like you don't lose muscle. It's like,
yeah, because let me tell you, you used to be able to go and work out, and now you can do all the crunches or like the cardio, and you're just gonna not have a
your
flat
body's
stomach.
declining.
Like, what is happening?
It's really
saying
depressing.
to me right now.
It's really depressing.
That's why I just don't even listen.
Yeah, no, 100%. But when I started doing this, I was like, I
I'll
realized,
just go crawl under a rock. Thank you.
that's the thing. How do we take care of our body, strengthen our body? How do we embrace this idea that we can actually become more beautiful, more attractive as we age? Because this is certainly how I felt. And I would say the core sort of experience that brought that to life for me was strength training closely with personal trainers over the past couple of years. Now, so lucky to get to train with some of the world's best like lifters at my gym in Venice. And, I think the thing that I think even people are missing in that conversation is that, like strong body equals strong life. And there are, getting engaged in something like that, working really closely with a trainer, pushing past your limits. I think I was like telling you last night, like I would never expect that I could like casually lift like 200 pounds, but I can do it now. And you sort of, in addition to all the health benefits that there is such like a confidence boost that comes from realizing, hey, I'm 42 now. I'm more active. I'm stronger than I've ever been. And that just kind of like gives you this whole new lease on life. And that's what I want women to know, like whatever it is, whether it's through strength training, whatever physical things, you're doing. And there are other ways that you can, I think, support this through the right supplementation and all of that, that like, it's not over,
Not at all.
It's very much the opposite.
I truly
agree.
agree.
Much the opposite. And it's, and that we don't need to get it through injections and GLP-1s and all of these things. We've talked a lot about, I think, how simplicity really is the key. And that's a conversation I have with a lot of, mainstream media as well. When people say, well, what do you do? Like, what do you think the problem is? How do you stay healthy? And it's like, it's really easy. I exercise, I eat whole foods, I sleep,
right?
I don't drink alcohol.
Right.
I just like 5 or 8 things, and I'm not over supplementing.
That's key.
Yeah. And I think unfortunately in today's world, people are lost and they're misdirected and they're reaching outside of themselves for all of these things when in reality, they can gain all of that power inside of them.
Absolutely. That's the number one thing, really. There's many things that I teach and have been passed down in ancient medicine and my lineage, and honestly, current conventional Western doctors who really care and are integrative. I'm thinking of Dr. Joel from today. I mean, that is the ultimate, that's the best thing we can possibly do, is constantly become more aware of our own selves, right? No one truly understands how you are feeling except for you. But that education doesn't mean we have to know everything or, the people, but it's knowing what is out there, finding, paying attention to, how do I even put this in words? Finding doctors, experts, teachers who come from a root, who truly have experience, who know what they're doing. That is very East Asian. That is very much in my lineage, or not just mine, but in general, more the ancient medicines. And it's something I'm speaking out more about. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, where did you get this from?
Yeah.
Like, when you get the products, there are ways that you can, maybe you don't know, it depends on what they would like to share, but why did they create this? How do they know to create this formula? Or, the physical practices. Like you just said, you're working with some of the best because they've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very important to, find the right teachers, constantly check in and be aware. That's the best. And yes, it really comes down to really like the 3 M's. You just said it. Medicine, movement, mindset.
Yeah.
That's
100%,
it.
100%. And like we were talking about too, is like you take in all the information from the experts. I'm also really excited. I'm starting my master's in exercise science next week, which is
amazing.
which is really exploring like the mind-body connection, our physiology. It'll give me the ability to like prescribe exercise as medicine, which I'm really excited to do. And I want to come up with specific programs for women, really any population, because as you know, exercise truly is medicine. It is prescribed for various different conditions and can be the easiest lifestyle change that we can make that doesn't cost money. And so, but, you know, I think we were having this conversation. It's like you take all that in, you learn, you know, and then you ultimately are the judge of what you decide you're going to do. You know, it's this mix of like knowledge and intuition. And I think that's something that as women too, we really need to remember that like, you know, in this whole world of health and wellness and supplementation, and at this point, really oversaturation of products, methods, influencers coming at us, telling us what to do, that, you know, ultimately, like, it's you and you. Like you have to be the one to decide and navigate through that process. And there are ways that you can do that, which we can talk about too in terms of, you know, how to.
No, let's definitely dive in. I will acknowledge though, I mean, it is so interesting. And I constantly reflect on this because 20 some years ago, I know when I started in the beauty and wellness industry, I mean, I just like to remind everyone of how far we've come very quickly. I mean, there was no natural products, was not even a thing. I remember being part of that whole like fight, basically, you know, even talking about Korean beauty or herbal medicine, plant botanicals. Everyone thought we were, if I talked about meditation, oh my gosh, they'd think I was like from another planet. And here we are. But it's so interesting because everything in balance or out of balance, yin and yang, the dichotomy that always exists. It went from nothing to now it's like extreme, the other. I mean, extreme.
Have you been to?
I think it's still going. That's the truth,
my God, it's still going. Have you been to the Natural Products West?
Yes,
Expo West.
Actually, the funny thing is, I haven't been in a couple of years. That was like I was an OG, so I used to go all the time. I'm scared.
This is like the big Natural Products Expo.
It's amazing. You go and you eat all the food and try all the things.
Don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but you're like,
oh my gosh.
It's a lot of the stuff there. So it's the largest like natural products expo on the West Coast.
But overwhelming.
A lot of the stuff in there isn't actually truly good for you.
No.
It's not clean, you know, it's not like the right supplement. Like it just goes to show you like there is such mass commercialization in this space and industrialization, which happens, unfortunately, it seems like in almost every
industry, field, world. Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really interesting. Like I even go into Erewhon and I'm like, half the stuff in here is garbage. Like, and I'm sorry, I actually have a friend who's maybe going to set me up with them because I'm like, you know, the protein powders that they have on the market are not the cleanest. Like, you know, so you still have to be aware of what you're consuming. Just because it's at Erewhon, you know, does not mean that it is a good, healthy, you know, option.
Yes. And I feel like I need to say this, but there's a balance in everything. So 100%. On the flip side, of course, the Taoist in me is like, but wait, Emma. I could not agree more. On the flip side, we also have to be balanced about this because I also see some people sometimes say things, and as a formulator who makes these products, you're like, well, you have to have something. You know, I mean, come on now. Otherwise, you're just going to have bacteria and mold. And so I just have to acknowledge that because it's my job, my duty. There's much more on the side that you're saying.
Sure.
But everything in balance, you know?
And I fully believe in the 80-20 rule, right?
Yes.
Like whatever, I'm not perfect. Like I do live a very natural, holistic lifestyle. I'm probably the only 42-year-old girl in LA who doesn't have Botox, who doesn't take GLP-1s, like truly.
And those of you who do not see Emma, wait until you see her. Like tune into YouTube, turn it on. She's so beautiful.
But also I have only love for those practices if you're doing it. My point is just that we can, again,
everything in balance.
Everything in balance.
Make your choices. I agree. Yes, everything in balance.
And we can obtain that beauty, you know, through ourselves, through the daily lifestyle choices and habits that we make, you know.
And each one of us is different.
Yeah, 100%.
Even we were talking last night when we were at dinner about our workout choices at this moment in time. And that's so funny because I think we have a lot of similarities. I mean, even in our, like, I'd say constitution, like literally our frame and the way we are. And that's, you know, Eastern medicine, so I won't go into the whole thing. But we are very similar. But even like the points of life that we're in, what we just walk through, we promised each other that we would bring this up. So here it comes. You know, that is where you become aware of yourself. And the perfect example, you know, that we wanted to talk about was, like you said, and I'd love to hear more, your strength training right now and how it empowers you and how you feel like actually strength training, but truly it brings you energy and nourishes you right now. Where at this point in my life, and then I was like, well, Emma, maybe it is because I do have 2 young boys, and on top of I will reflect on that. But there's things in my life right now, my mind is, I have a lot I'm thinking about all the time, which I love, all the things that I consider. Like I actually know that at this point in my life right now, I practice a lot more of the martial arts, where it is like more of the flow, like the movements, but the Qigong, I'll do my Pilates. And as much as in my 20s, we talked about this, like I'd like train for a marathon. And then I'd like go to clinic and study and then go work out for 2 hours during my lunch break. And then like at 11, I'm still working out. It felt great. But at this moment in my life, it's not nourishing. I know better. So I want to acknowledge that, because that's knowing ourselves, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Strength training no matter what. But
at the end of the day, your body, your choice.
Yes.
Listen, what you're talking about, which I went through and I've talked to so many women as well about, is that like I do think particularly women in our age range, we grew up in a time where a lot of people struggled with eating disorders, body image, deprivation. There wasn't really a healthy model for, I don't think really for like truly like, why are we exercising?
No, you're right. I haven't thought about that in that manner, but you're right.
So it's, it's interesting now, the conversation with strength training and really why I'm a proponent. My point is just that like, and you're already doing this through your modalities, is like, why we do this is to add muscle.
Yes.
And that is a really powerful defense against chronic disease, long-term neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, fighting chronic inflammation. For me, it's about, time put into this is, going to support honestly, like my best, most present life, because I've seen on the flip side what happens maybe when people don't take care of themselves or do struggle from, a neurological disease like Alzheimer's. And, it's really painful. But the flip side is we have the opportunity to affect those outcomes through the daily choices that we make.
Yes, that is longevity. That is wellness. That is what ancient medicine teaches us for thousands of years. It is exactly that the decisions, the choices we make now will affect us.
100%.
And like you said, 80-20. So let's not be extreme about anything. And what keeps coming to mind, and we've certainly touched on, is being natural about things. Like really incorporating them into your life, right? Because consistently, consistency is key. And so some of the supplements, because I know that you have some things planned as well. So what are the supplements that you do like to take?
So I will say the first thing that I take that has been really foundational in the way my body has changed is creatine, which everyone is talking about. But I will give you guys some parameters in terms of like what works and what doesn't, because I've delved into this quite a bunch. So basically, again, better for worse, a lot of the creatine that's out there on the market actually doesn't contain any creatine itself. It's because of the way that once the creatine hits water, it's not water soluble. So in about 30 minutes is what I hear in hot water, it turns into something called creatine, which has zero nutritional value. And when does that happen? It happens when you're creating like a gel or a liquid format, or when you have a gummy format. So
like
if you're
not into the gummies, right? Doesn't mean I've never taken them, or don't love.
So if you're gonna take it, like my recommendation is to take something called creatine monohydrate, which you'll also see there are different forms of creatine out there on the market. Creatine HCl is one that also comes up that people advocate for because it gives you less bloating, but HCl has not been researched nearly enough long-term for the benefits. So I'm like, I'm going to take the one that you're getting the benefits over the long term, which is creatine monohydrate. So my recommendation for all the girls out there who are thinking about taking it or supplementing with it is take take a powder. Thorn does a really good one. Momentous is the brand that I take. They use a brand called Creapure, which is sourced from Germany. Is the only one that's not sourced from China, if you care about that kind of thing. And so, when you see creatine in gel or gummies, it's most likely that you're not getting the amount of creatine that the package says.
Okay. So there you go. And then also, Emma, because I know for us, like this is part of our regimen, and so many of people we know about this, but say the benefits, because I don't think a lot of people know
totally.
The benefits
so
of creatine.
Creatine is such an interesting supplement, because I think people now understand that it is really powerful as like a muscle recovery and for muscle boosting. So it boosts something in your body called ATP, which is basically like, it gives you all this energy when you work out.
It's the cell's energy.
Exactly.
Exactly why I love red light. That's
exactly. So like, you can feel it. It's interesting. Like when I take it, I can feel it. It's like that extra boost of energy you get when you're like doing,
which is another
a weight or whatever.
Property of, for lack of a better, or benefit of taking creatine.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then it helps with your recovery, but there's also mental and cognitive benefits. So there have been studies actually showing that like at around 20 grams, the recommended dose that's understood is 5 grams, which that's like what you'll get when you take like a Thorn or whatever. But like 20 grams-ish or so has been shown to actually help boost like memory and cognition for people with Alzheimer's. There's a guy out of Canada, Darren Caddo, who's done a ton of research on this. And he actually says that like if he's feeling, tired or run down or whatever, like he'll take creatine just as like an energy booster.
Sure.
And it does have that effect.
Of course.
Like, so sometimes I'll do like 10 grams if I'm feeling kind of run down. Those days you're just like, I didn't sleep well. So it's really interesting, I think, as, too, as women who, we work really hard. You're like successful at all the things. Like, it's in terms of, I don't think there's anything more powerful in terms of helping to really, again, like build muscle, build strength to your body and support your longevity at this moment on the market.
One thing that I think is really helpful for people who might want to add this into their daily regimen. I'll let you speak on this. But when you first start taking creatine, it is very common that you do feel bloated for a little while, and it's like your body has to adapt to taking it.
True.
I want to say it correctly, but you know what I'm talking about.
What it
so
does
that people
is
know to kind of keep moving.
Yeah, it draws water to your muscles. So, you do that can happen for me. That it didn't happen to me. But I do think, if that happens to you, it's like you just keep taking it and you'll get over the hump, because basically once you're taking it regularly and the creatine has saturated your muscles for long enough, that effect will go away.
Yes.
So it's like, don't be scared.
Yes, and that's really important. I mean, anyone who knows me probably has heard me say that, and you said it, which I like very much, that, just taking all the supplements, that is actually can be very not advantageous. I'm saying it all strange, but like that's not always good for you. Let me be the first to say, because first of all, it can slow down your digestion. It's hard for our body to absorb things, especially if they're not formulated correctly. And when you slow down your digestion, that's where a lot of people will start to feel, actually. You think you're taking these things that are doing whatever it is that you think that they're doing, but do pay attention to your body, because if you, for some reason, one day you're like, my gosh, for some reason my stomach is just really bothering me, or like I keep getting these headaches, or I'm really tired. It's very important to kind of track, what have I done differently?
100%.
That does not happen to me very often, because I'm so grateful to know all these practices and tools. But if ever I do feel off, I always check in that way.
100%. It's like, before you take this, like go see your doctor,
right?
Get a DEXA scan, understand the composition of your body. If you're eating healthily, like, to be honest, you should be getting all of the things that you buy supplements for. Like, you should be getting 100%. All those vitamins and minerals in your body. And so that's like, again, why I do pretty minimal. And the other thing is that, like, studies show that like 95% of the supplements on the market don't actually work. So you do have to be really mindful, again, about that process of making sure that you're going with a brand that is trustworthy, that's done the third-party testing. My friends have an app called Suppco, Suppco. And it's really the first app where it helps you just like navigate the supplement market. They give trust scores to all the supplements. So you can see like, okay, this, was tested by a third party, this is science backed. They have doctors on their advisory board or whatever. And then they worked with,
which is key. I mean, I was saying to you, our lab, we've been doing this for over 20 years. Beauty care, but supplements, wellness. And to me, it's like I have to sit back for a second because there's no other way. Like every single thing we create, obviously formulation, I often will add the herbal medicine aspect if it so makes sense. But the third party testing, all of the, that's just the way. So 100%. It's still crazy to me. I know it exists that is a thing.
So Suppco, I would say I'll definitely plug, like check them out if you are trying to navigate this. And then they brought on doctors like Mark Hyman and Robin Berzin, who, some of the leading functional medicine doctors to give their protocols and, advice on different regimens, whether it's like fertility or whatever. So, but going back to your point, in this process, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, is that I am also creating a supplement. I'll keep it on the download in terms of what's in there.
Say we want,
but that has been so interesting. Like you said, I have a partner called the Clean Label Project, and they are a nonprofit that tests for third party, does the third party testing for contaminants, toxins, like up to 200 things actually that aren't on the label. So when we go to the market and we see, this is organic, this is non-GMO, whatever, you're not seeing what's not in there, which is a lot of the times things like heavy metals and pesticides, which unfortunately are found in a lot of wellness products.
And see, that's what blows my mind because, and we have a very specific type of client, but to me it's way more than a client. These brands that we, formulate, develop, they care, manufacture for, and that's like always a part of it.
I know.
There's no other way. So if they don't have that, there's an issue.
Yeah. Well,
and
it's
also
crazy.
All the fillers and all the other things within your supplements. It's 100%. Important to know.
I mean, that's the thing is like this whole process too has made me really be like very mindful of what this product is going to have at the end of the day, because I also have heard of plenty of stories of founders kind of dumping a bunch of stuff in their supplement and not really caring. And listen, like a lot of these ingredients that we talk about, things like natural flavors, citric acid, for example, like I don't have either of those in my product, which was really important to me. These are things like at the end of the day, is taking it going to kill you? No. Right. But if you're taking something every day over time for your health, it adds up. And then you put it together with all the other products that have these ingredients, particularly like citric acid is in a lot of electrolyte beverages.
Yes.
These are things that you're like recommended to drink a lot of, which, if you have a sensitive stomach or you struggle with a disease like Lyme disease, like it can really wear and tear on your stomach lining.
Absolutely.
I've heard stories of like people getting stomach ulcers. Again,
which, by the way, your middle is Western, Eastern. We all agree. Your middle, your digestion everything is important, but obviously vital. You start breaking that down and guess what? Nothing is going to function properly.
Exactly. So again, it's not like, individually, it's going to make such a big difference, but it's just having that awareness that like compounded these ingredients are in a lot of things. And so that is why it's so important to be transparent, look at a label, say, okay, this is certified by something like a CLP or an environmental working group. If you're looking at health and beauty products, environmental working group also does a similar like certification process, so that it's free of things like parabens and sulfates. Like, again, 80-20 rule. Like I'm not like insane, like making sure everything that I have doesn't have these things, but I do check. Like it is definitely
I know
a way
that we live our lifestyle very similar. And same with, I was saying even with my boys, they're 12 and 8. If they have some chips, it is going to happen.
Of course.
And also I have to recognize just with discipline. Now I'm like going into the whole, I will not, there has to be balance, or they will naturally resist equals rebel. Like, have it. But also I'm going to teach you at this young age, which they know.
Yeah.
They'll be like, Jackson was like 4. And he's like, there's MSG in here. And I was
That's
like, okay,
amazing.
good to know.
Yeah.
Keep eating it. You're going to get sick.
That's the
And they're
thing
like,
is
okay, Mom.
we did inherit, like as a generation, we have inherited the effects of mass industrialization and commercialization of beauty, of agriculture, where to the point now where we are
Oh my gosh,
really
even thought leadership, even the mind. Yeah, when you're saying it this way, I'm like, even that.
Where we're dealing
spirituality.
Where we're dealing with a battle, for example, on the pesticide front, where these pesticides have become, to be honest, almost so ubiquitous in our day-to-day life and our, the products that we buy and even things that are seemingly organic, where there are traces of things like glyphosate on our products, because guess what? This has now been happening for decades where
now
this
it's
pesticide
in our soil. So good luck, everyone. Bye. Thank you. This is our episode of The Experts. I'm doing the same thing.
Not to be like a total, I'm just saying is like, this is the environment that we've inherited, right? And so I think as a generation, we do have to be more cognizant of what we're consuming. And that is, to be honest, also the power of something like Maha, which is actively fighting back against a lot of these environmental toxins, because these things are all leading to, record low fertility numbers, for example, and record high amounts of chronic disease, obesity, people who are overweight. And so,
in children, we were just discussing this earlier today.
Yeah.
In children, it's 50%. Like somewhere the range was 40 to 60%. A rise in chronic disease.
Yeah.
That is not a small amount.
It's not a small amount.
That's our children.
I know.
I don't even want to know.
70% of Americans are overweight or obese, and so the point is just that, like, it does matter, and we do have to be, we inherited this, so we do have to be more cognizant. It doesn't mean, again, like my brand and platform is, it's all, I still want to enjoy my life and have fun and not like live my life by
Everything
labels.
In balance, absolutely.
Yeah. And,
that's not, in some way, that's not even living. I'm sorry if I'm offending
anyone.
And so now the solution, I was joking, but we had to get there to make a point, because it's the reality of our current circumstance for all of us, but exactly what we're talking about is a solution.
Yeah.
I love, me.
Yeah.
Everything is, and we're talking about it. So I'm moving into this, the 3 pillars, the 3 M's. That's what all of our ancient teachers, not in that way. That's how I packaged it for us to remember. But it's medicine, which we've discussed. Supplements, food is the best medicine. We completely align. Movement, we talked about, right? Strength training, really strengthening our body and being aware of ourselves and what is good for us. And it doesn't just strengthen us physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually,
100%.
All the things. And then mindset.
Yeah.
Our mind. And I know that is a huge part of you and your life and all, and so how has that been, integral for you? What is important to you?
Yeah, I would say probably a few things is one, just on a day-to-day basis, I was trained in Vedic meditation probably 10 or 12 years ago by a teacher here in LA. I have been religious about that practice ever since. My 20 minutes in the morning is, again, talk about meditation as medicine, to lower and regulate your cortisol, to just get you back to yourself, to be able to be that, I think, breeding place for you to connect with whatever higher power you may believe in is so, I think, so powerful and meaningful for me. And then there are probably 2 other, I would say, like, tools that I have really loved, particularly over this past year. One is Kabbalah, which I don't know how familiar you are.
David Guillaume is someone that I find very, and I've spent some time with him, not tons, but I would love to hear more. And we were on a panel together. I remember saying every time every time you share some of the principles or teachings, I believe he says teachings, I want to say it correctly. It's all, of course, but I talk about this. Like it's all so, for example, like I'm a Taoist, but the things he shares, which are very effective and sometimes shocking. And I appreciate the practice, the teaching, which I want you to talk about in a second here, because it really resonates and is very similar, of course, to the principles of the Tao, right? Because to me, it all comes from the same root.
Right.
And so any kind of ancient, what do we want to call that? Way of life. Let's call it that. Because that's, I won't even say religion or spirituality, because Taoism really isn't. And Kabbalah, I have a feeling, you tell me, but it's even deeper than that.
Yeah. I mean, the way, he describes it or other, I mean, it's, it's like kind of like a spiritual technology, it's just a way for me, I would say, was really helpful for me, particularly in this past year, because there are a lot of principles, for example, this idea that nothing is good or bad. We're so quick to label when something bad happens. I just had a breakup, We're so quick to say, this is awful and to like ruminate.